everybody? My name is Roy Nemer. I'm your Wrestleview.com SmackDown recapper. This is the Wrestleview.com SmackDown Post Show, episode number 12. We are 3 months in, officially 3 months into our show. Thank you guys for joining me. My name is Roy Nemer. What a show. What a show. Very, very enjoyable show. I preferred it over last week, right? The WrestleMania Fallout. I thought it was very, very good. The first hour was phenomenal. Absolutely loved the hell out of it. We got a couple of people in the chat. So I see Quentin in here with the first comment. We got Tyler. We got Andrew. We got Mr. Metallica, who's actually a good friend of mine. Well over 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. Over 20 years. We got Gil's fan who says, I acknowledge you all. And Andrew, hello. So hello, everyone. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. If it's your first time watching, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. We're here several times a week. We're here on Mondays with Mike and Victoria Tedesco, who do the Raw post show. I'm here on Fridays. We're here for the pay-per-views. We're here for everything. We're here for all the literally everything, right? And we're here to acknowledge Roman Reigns as your tribal chief, as our tribal chief. Andrew, you actually got to watch this week. That's good. We missed you last week, buddy. I mentioned it on the Raw post show. Glad you're joining us. Metallica, I'll call you Metallica. 22 years I've known this guy. Absolutely incredible. So without further ado, let's get into this show. Absolutely loved it. So the show kicks off with highlights of last week's show, right? Roman Reigns, Cesaro, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, this and that. And the show starts through the package, and then boom, we cut to the Thunderdome, and I actually very enjoyed the hell out of this one. Cesaro's in the ring, doesn't say a word. As he is about to speak, out comes Seth Rollins, and he cuts a promo saying, look, it was Mother Nature, it was God, they made it rain, they threw me off my game, that's the only reason why you beat me. On my worst day, on your best day, there's no way you could beat me, no way you could get the W. And that leads to Jey Uso coming out and Cesaro challenging, Seth to a match. Jey comes out, tells him, no, you disrespected me. You disrespected the head of the table. You disrespected Seth, this and that. And, just like sharks kind of circling around the ring, boom, out comes Daniel Bryan, which kind of sets the tone for the rest of the evening, right? So Bryan comes out. Andrew says, no ugly suit this week. Yes, thank God. So Seth was in his ring attire, didn't have a weird suit on or anything like that. And so if we just take a look right here. All right. So, Cesaro says, I'm having a good day. I'm having a great day. Challenge you. Out comes Jey. Out comes Daniel Bryan. Bryan calls out Roman Reigns. And out comes Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. And Roman just bashes the heck and just destroys Daniel Bryan, right? Just everything. He calls him, an idiot, a stupid idiot, this and that. He says, I called it. I said what I was going to do. I was going to smash him, stack him, and pin him, and that's what I did. And, he calls Daniel Bryan a loser, and he tells Cesaro, look, the fact that you're even letting Daniel Bryan speak for you makes you a loser. Right, and he says Cesaro is like a casino loser. He's a loser with bad luck, whereas Bryan is just a stupid loser. And he tells Bryan, look, you're surrounded by people who want to beat your ass. And Roman Reigns goes to the back. We cut to a commercial break. Really enjoyed this, and it's something I mentioned in my tweet here. I said, a fun start to the show. Even Seth wasn't bad in this. Roman came out, just killed it as he usually does. Also, they truly protected Cesaro here. He was involved in all of this without really saying a word. And, we mentioned this in the past about how, promo skills aren't necessarily Cesaro's strong suit. And they've been doing a good job kind of camouflaging it and making sure he doesn't talk on the mic too much. He does at the end of the show, and we're going to get to it when we get there. It wasn't very convincing. What did you guys think of the opening segment? I very much enjoyed it. Gil's fan says they clearly don't want Cesaro talking much. Exactly. And again, man, they camouflage it. They camouflage this really, really well. You had Seth doing a lot of the talking. You had Daniel Bryan doing most of the talking. You had Jay doing some of the talking. Then you had Roman Reigns kind of the icing on the cake, just finishing it all off. And then boom, we cut to a commercial break. And this is something I feel like they're, it's separate between Raw and SmackDown, because on Raw you have people that, are not necessarily the best on the mic, and they just kind of give them free reign. They just, say what you want type of thing. It's not working on Raw. And they've been very, very much protecting Cesaro in this case. Andrew says it was pretty good. My dear friend, Metallica, says that Cesaro has struggled with promos. He acknowledged his own skills. He's kind of weak in that regard. Not sure I want Daniels being his mouthpiece. So, see, that's the whole thing, and we're gonna get to it more towards the end of the show. But Bryan's obviously considerably better on the mic than Cesaro. Is Daniel Bryan the best on the mic? Not exactly. I wouldn't say he's the best, but he's not the worst either. He is the ultimate babyface, and we'll see. We'll see how this plays out between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. Andrew says Daniel Bryan in the kind of managerial role. So that could maybe work. Although a lot of it will depend on next week, what happens next week, and again, we're gonna get into it. I think for the time being, Daniel Bryan being Cesaro's mouthpiece works for the time being. However, I do agree with Metallica in the sense of, I'm not sure long-term wise if I do want it to continue. I think long-term wise, if they want to push Cesaro, which I definitely think they should, if they want to push Cesaro and really do well with him, they got to put him with someone that knows how to talk. And nothing against Bryan, but he's not the guy. He doesn't cut it for me. He really, really doesn't cut it for me. So we'll see what they do. Gil's fan says, I was hoping Nakamura would come out and save Cesaro. And Nakamura's kind of just been an afterthought at this point. They're not sure. It feels like they're not sure what they want to do with him, right? And I don't know. Are we going to get another draft soon? Are we going to start seeing some guys from SmackDown go to Raw and Raw to SmackDown? Nakamura could maybe benefit from that. Send him over to Raw. Have him feud. I guess with Sheamus maybe for the United States Championship. Have him do something. Who knows? Even Andrew says, don't know what's up with Nakamura. No one knows what's up with Shinsuke Nakamura. He was nowhere to be seen, as was Edge, by the way. Edge was not anywhere near this show for the second week in a row. And it was funny because even during Roman Reigns' promo to kick off the show early on, when he's talking about his t-shirt, the smack them and stack them and beat them and this and that, we zoom in, or the camera zoomed in on the shirt, and Roman says, oh, hey, Daniel, Bryan, this is you right here at the bottom. No mention of Edge, and I don't know if they're planning on, maybe keeping this as a surprise and throwing him in there next week, or maybe there's something going on with Edge they don't want us to know about, or maybe they're just going to send him over to Raw. Who knows for the time being? We haven't gotten anything yet. I haven't gotten any news about Edge so far. Gil's fan says, I guess Roman just banished Nakamura. Look, I like Nakamura, but until they figure out what to do with him, maybe it's best to kind of keep him off the show for a while. Andrew says, Edge as a special attraction. See, but that's the issue with Edge, is that he said it, and he said it several times. He's not a part-timer. He does not want to be a part-timer. So unless he's injured, or unless they're doing this as a storyline where he's going to come back next week, I don't know what they're going to do with Edge. I don't know. My guess is, if I had to guess, I would say they bring, Edge shows up next week, and we'll talk about this at the end of the show, but I think Edge comes back next week, interferes in the main event, and we get a similar main event at WrestleMania Backlash, where it's either a triple threat or it's Edge against Roman one last time, and whatever happens, right? So that's Edge, kind of unknown for the time being. He hasn't shown up since WrestleMania, so 2 weeks now. It's absolutely been 2 weeks. And then we go to a commercial break, and 2 seconds, it's coffee, right? I always mention this every week. It's just coffee, no alcohol in this. Or for my friend Metallica, no milk in this, and he'll understand that. And no, that's not a dirty joke. All right, so we cut to commercial break. We come back. It's Cesaro and Daniel Bryan up against Jey Uso. and Seth Rollins. And I'll tell you what, this was a 30-minute match. Yeah, it was about a 30-minute match. Started at about 8:15 Eastern, finished at around 8:45, 8:50 Eastern. We had 2 commercial breaks, not one, but 2 commercial breaks. And we come back from commercial. The match is not yet underway, but all 4 guys are fighting, so it's a physical match. Hard hitting. I really enjoyed this. I loved Seth in this, and I loved Seth in particular at the end, because at the end of the match, Jey Uso is the legal man, and Seth's like, forget it, I don't need this. I don't need this, and he just decides to walk away. And it's a heelish thing to do. Seth is selfish, so this completely fits his character. Completely, he had no reason to continue the match. He didn't care. He was walking away. I liked it. I thought they did well with Seth. I thought all 4 guys did very, very well in this. I'm gonna cut to the chat really quickly. Metallica says, my friend says, not milk, and yeah, I beat you to it on that one. Andrew says, now if this was Raw, you would need alcohol. I would need alcohol. And surprisingly enough, Mike Tedesco does not drink alcohol. But if you missed it, it's in the archives. It's on YouTube. Go back, watch watch the entire episode. But that Raw post show for the Wrestleview Raw post show on YouTube, Mike Tedesco, man, he just went all out on that show, along with Victoria as well. But Mike had his little rant, very enjoyable. Go check it out. It's in the archives. Gills fan says, I wish Bryan would stop with suicide dives. And this is something we've mentioned in the past on this show and on the Raw show and on the post pay-per-view shows, and we've spoken about this to death. Is that it seems like every week we get a bunch of these suicide dives, and if you look at someone like Daniel Bryan with the history of injuries that he's had, it's dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous doing the suicide dives, and it looks as if he's kind of mastered it, because a lot of the suicide dives you see, it's either they fly like this, or in Sasha Banks' case, she flies like this. Bryan kind of flies upwards, not towards the middle nor downwards. He really flies upwards, and he lands on his feet. So he flies through the ropes going up, as opposed to others who kind of just go straight or down. And I feel like he's kind of mastered it. But I do agree, Gills fan, it's definitely dangerous. It's definitely dangerous, especially considering his history. Gills fan said, shouldn't Roman have a bigger issue with Seth after he abandoned Jey? Perhaps. Honestly, I didn't think of that. Gills fan, that's a very good question. I didn't think of that. The fact that Seth walked away and Roman's like, hey, he didn't really confront him, didn't do anything about it. I was semi-surprised there was no mention of the Shield. There was no mention of Seth's history with Roman. Nothing of the sort. That surprised me more than anything, to be honest. Because when Roman Reigns came out and you had Roman, Seth, and Jey on the ramp, I was expecting either Pat or Michael Cole to kind of mention a Shield reunion or something. I guess they didn't. Maybe they want people to forget about it, at least for the time being. At least until... if we ever get a Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns feud for the belt. Who knows? Maybe they might bring it up then. But for the time being, they absolutely did not. Mike, my friend Metallica says, Mike's first 2 minutes summed up the last year of Raw. Absolutely, fully agree. Andrew, I enjoyed Jey getting the multi-swings. That was very enjoyable. That was very cool. It was very fun. And man, credit to Cesaro spinning him around like that. Jesus, that's not easy. Mike, we have Mr. Mike Tedesco in the chat. Our Wrestleview.com Raw recapper. So Mike says, I literally just turned on the video and the first 2 words I heard were Mike Tedesco. Beautiful. Buddy, I know how to welcome you. Mike. Metallica says, where do you think Seth returning in a picture with Roman as a team? They've been kept away since their Raw days. I don't know if they'll have him as a team. I truly don't know. Maybe at one point, like a random tag team match on SmackDown, I could probably see that happening. But I could kind of see a clash of, maybe not necessarily now, but maybe down the road, where, hey, it's the tribal chief against, the Messiah. Or I hope he's not going to call himself the Messiah, but, I could definitely see something down the road there. I don't think we're going to get a tag team. I would be very surprised if we get a tag team. But I could definitely see like a feud going on, or at least a feud between Seth and Jey Uso. Maybe, who knows? Although two heels, we know that creative's not very fond of having two heels going up against each other. Metallica says bingo shield. It brings up Ambrose in conversation. They'll likely stay away from that. Exactly. At least for the time being. Andrew, then Jay told Kayla he was going to barf. How do you think I'm feeling? Yeah, that post thing, that was odd. That was very, very odd. So if we cut to the ending of the match, Bryan and Cesaro get the win, right? So the babyfaces go over. Bryan grabs the microphone, calls out Roman Reigns. Roman obviously doesn't show up. Seth spins Jay around, hits him with an uppercut, spins Jay around again for a second time, and Bryan says, well, you're head of the table, you're the tribal chief, let's see how much you care about family. So, that led to Cesaro spinning Jay around. Nothing at all, no reaction from Roman. Then we cut backstage, and we see Sonya and Adam Pearce, and this is odd. I don't know what they're doing with Sonya. It feels like sometimes they're hinting or they're leaning towards a heel turn or something of the sort. Maybe eventually sending her over to Raw and keeping Adam Pearce on SmackDown. Who knows? But anyways, they're backstage. In comes Apollo. Sonya literally just walks away, says, okay, forget it. And she leaves. And that's when we get the announcement that Apollo Crews will be defending his Intercontinental Championship later on tonight against Kevin Owens, of all people. So that's kind of a surprise. And then we cut to a commercial break. So, my thoughts on this, let me know what you guys thought, but my thoughts, 2 commercial breaks for the opening match. Very enjoyable tag team and a full 45 minutes dedicated to this. Mike, this one's for you, buddy. I even wrote, this is already better than any typo, but anything on Raw and not anyone on Raw. So first 45 minutes of the show were better than all 3 hours of Raw from this past Monday. So we got commercial break. Jay's backstage with Kayla, and he just tells her, look, I feel sick. It's enough disrespect by Cesaro. He's stepping up to the head of the table. He will get put down. So that was that. I'm gonna take a look at the chat. Gills fan says Jay said he didn't care about Seth. I guess you could just you can just abandon Jay without consequences. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I don't know if this ends up going as a feud. I don't know what they're gonna do between Jay and Seth. Could be interesting. Who knows? But maybe for the time being, looks like they're gonna keep Seth with Cesaro, at least for now. And I could definitely see a match there at WrestleMania Backlash. But could be just me. Then we get Nia Jax against Tamina. Not the best of matches. We got a solid 30-minute tag team match to kick off the show, and then we get this 3-4 minute filler match that was slow, that was dodgy, that was not very enjoyable. And for those that watch the show and watch the show every week, number one, thank you. Number two, you'll know that I try not to hate too much on the women's division. It's easy to hate on him. It's easy, very easy. And I try not to, but my word, was this one just not pretty. Luckily, it was short. It was around 3-4 minutes. Didn't go too long. Tamina ends up getting the pin, so she hits Nia Jax with a super kick, and she was barely able to kind of roll her over to get the pin. Wasn't very pleasant. Wasn't the best of matches, but it was what it was. Tamina's your winner on that one, and who knows what we get regarding the women's division. Again, you guys have mentioned in the past, I've mentioned in the past, just combine both the Raw and SmackDown, the women's divisions on there, combine the belts, do whatever it is, just figure something out with this division. Then we got backstage, and Kayla. We saw a lot of Kayla tonight. She's backstage with Kevin Owens. She asked him about the match. Owen says, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting this, but you know what? I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna run with it, and I'm gonna beat Apollo Crews to become the new Intercontinental Champion. And in comes Big E. And surprisingly enough, we didn't get Big E in the Intercontinental title match at all. No interference, no appearance, nothing at all. This was strictly it for Big E. He got his 2 minutes with Kevin Owens here tonight. He tells Kevin Owens, per usual, you cut the line. They both know that this is his match. It's his Intercontinental title. Kevin Owens says, "Well, look, tonight I'm getting the opportunity. Tonight I will beat Apollo Crews, and tonight I will become the new Intercontinental Champion." So that was that. What do you guys think? I'm gonna take a look at this here. So I'm gonna take a look at the chat. Metallica says that last Raw was as bad as the shoot your favorite WWF Superstars game on WrestleView 20 years ago. Wow, I completely forgot about that game. I believe there was even like a Hangman game of the sort, something like that. Wow, so Metallica going really, really old school on that one. Yes, there was a mini game on WrestleView. Completely forgot about that. Wow, talk about a blast from the past. Talking about blast from the past, we do have some surprises coming to you this weekend on WrestleView.com. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Gills fan says, didn't care about the match, bring back the Iconics. Andrew, yeah, that was the bad part, but then you don't have much people to feud for the women's tag belts. Then get rid of the women's tag belt. Get rid of it. Andrew says, hey Kayla, channeling his inner Billy Kay. Gills fan, remember when the automatic rematch clause was dropped? Yep, that was dropped a couple of years back, actually. Yeah, when I can't believe I believe I want to say it was for the Universal belt, actually, wasn't it? I can't even remember, but yes, I remember them dropping it, saying, well, it's no longer in the contracts type of thing. So that was... anyways, the less said about this women's division, the better. Continuing, moving forward. Here we go. So we get Adam Pearce backstage with Daniel Bryan, and Bryan's really the advocate here for Cesaro. He asks Adam Pearce, are you going to make this match official? Roman Reigns against Cesaro. Adam Pearce tells him, I'm working on it, I'll try. And Daniel Bryan tells him, well, try harder, right? Try harder. It is what it is. Then we get our Intercontinental Championship match. So Apollo Crews with Commander Aziz up against Kevin Owens. And I'll tell you what, this was a pretty enjoyable match. I know we've hated on Apollo Crews in the past. I know, myself included. But I'll tell you this, since they gave him this new Nigerian gimmick, I'm not a fan of the accent, but ever since they gave him the gimmick, I don't know if it's a confidence boost, I don't know what it is, but his matches have gotten better. I'm guessing it's confidence, but he's definitely gotten better on, not only on the mic, but in the matches as well, and this was very good. Kevin Owens is a very good dance partner. He knows how to put on good matches. Both guys are hard-hitting, very physical. Apollo Crews has the acrobatics as well to throw it in there and to come into play. So this was a very fun match, very enjoyable. Taking a look at the chat, Metallica says, I'm not going to trash on the women's division. 5 minutes later, get rid of the tag titles. Hey man, I try and keep it short. Andrew says, apparently the WWE does not remember about that clause. And Gills fan says, it might have been when the McMahons apologized to the fans. Gills fan says, I want to know what's on Adam Pearce's phone. Even every backstage segment starts with him staring at it with a puzzled look on his face. Yeah, it's always like, hey, yeah, how are you? Oh, I gotta let you go. And then this guy comes in, or he's just looking at it confused and something. Look, guys, I'll accept Adam Pearce as what he is, the authority figure. I'll accept it. We've gotten worse. Remember that secret general manager stuff, and it's been bad. We've gotten some bad stuff in the past. Andrew says, do like the Apollo gimmick. Now the accent is growing on me, and Commander Sneeze doing his big man thing. Look, it works. It's a heelish character. It works. For the time being, it's working. As for the match itself, again, very hard hitting. Expected finish. So we do get Sami Zayn that comes out at one point right before the commercial break. He joins Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on commentary. Nothing wrong with that. Sami's always entertaining. Always fun to listen to. Gave his 2 cents. Predictable finish, right? You just knew Commander Aziz was going to get involved, and he did. He distracted Kevin Owens. Apollo gets the roll up, 1, 2, 3, gets the win. So a clean-ish finish, kind of, right, to a certain degree, or a heelish finish at least, but definitely acceptable. Very fun, or very funny, was afterwards. So Kevin Owens hits Apollo Crews with the stunner. Aziz knocks him down. They both leave, and Sami Zayn gets in the ring and starts to dance. The only thing I hope what they don't do is they don't turn Sami Zayn into a dancing meme. That's the only thing I hope they don't do. He had that thing a couple of weeks ago where he did it with Logan Paul in the ring, and he's doing it again, and he has his T-shirt out for, I believe, for charity and stuff like that. So it's cool, it's fun, it's funny to see. Hopefully it's not a recurring thing where it's every single week and they end up beating it to death. That I truly hope not. Going back to the chat, so Gilspan says, I think Mandy Rose was holding the camera during KO's entrance. They seemed to take a tumble. I missed that. I actually missed that, Gilspan. I'll have to take a look at it. Metallica says, much easier to play a heel. Cruz is good at it. Back in his NXT days, he used to talk about how shy he was and how hard it was so to demonstrate his personality due to his shyness. This is a good change. Yeah, no, he's definitely done better. I fully agree, Metallica fan. He's done very well. And credit to him, man. He's stumbled. They've given him some bad stuff. And sometimes he hasn't always delivered. But in this case, he is delivering, and he's starting to deliver. So credit to him. It can't be easy, right? It's got to be demoralizing at times, and he's doing very, very well so far. So credit to him, and I do agree. Gil's fan, Zayn is brilliant. I just hope Vince doesn't think dancing gimmick, pal. Yeah, that's my only fear. That's truly my only fear in all of this, is they turn Sami Zayn into a dancing meme. I hope not. After the match, we get Kayla once more, I believe for a third time so far tonight. She's backstage with Paul Heyman, and these two have very good chemistry. They're on Talking Smack together, and you could really tell Kayla's learning a lot from Paul Heyman. And look, if you're gonna learn from anyone on how to cut a promo or how to ask some questions, Paul Heyman's your guy. You can't get better than Paul Heyman. So she asks him. If Roman's going to accept Cesaro's challenge tonight. Heyman says he likes Cesaro, he likes him, he respects him, he admires him, and he loves him in a professional way. He says Cesaro made a name for himself using only one name, like Drake, like Madonna, and he says Cesaro is his favorite Cesaro, there's no one else. And will Roman accept the challenge? Well, we're going to find out tonight. He says customer satisfaction is the number one priority on the island of relevancy. And Roman Reigns will give an answer. We're going to get a direct answer from Roman Reigns. And then he just looks at Kayla and tells her she did good and he's proud of her, and he walks away. And you can kind of tell Kayla, probably she wanted to laugh or smile or something, but you could tell she had an expression on her face. She definitely had an expression on her face. It's Paul Heyman. Always good for a brilliant promo. So Metallica says, yeah, a lot of Kayla tonight. She's pretty much the only one that hasn't gotten a trash bag in the last week. Ouch. A low blow right there. But kind of true. And very disappointing, by the way. Very disappointing regarding Mickie James, the way she was treated. And I'm guessing she wasn't the only one. I'm guessing others were as well with the trash bag treatment, so to speak. But hey, WWE looks like they got rid of the individual or individuals involved in all of that. You never like to see anyone lose their job, but sometimes it does happen. Andrew says, Heyman good at his role as long as he's not holding a checkbook. Yeah, well, he's not very good at balancing the books, right? Or always paying people on time. Metallica says, as a booker, when do you bring in Jimmy Uso? Oh, that's a good question, Metallica. That's something actually we've asked and even kind of pondered about in the past couple of weeks. What do you do with Jimmy Uso? When do you even bring him back? And if you bring him back, this is my theory. My theory is eventually, yes, we do get Jimmy Uso back, but we get Jimmy back joining Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. But I feel like they bring him back right when Roman Reigns needs him the most. Like in a main event, championship main event, Roman's getting his ass kicked, Jay's knocked out, Roman's about to lose the belt, and then I think we get Jimmy Uso coming back. I think that's what they do. I don't think they just waste him or bring him back just on a SmackDown like that. I think they bring him back at a big pay-per-view and Roman retains. I think that's what they do. I really think so. Gil's fan says, Jillian and Maria said the same thing, I believe. Oh, wow. Wow, I must have missed that one. Andrew, apparently the trash bag thing has been going on for years, which is sad. See, so I haven't been, I'll be honest with you guys. I've read the reports the past week. I haven't had time to read every single report, I'll be honest. So the fact that this trash bag thing has been going on for years, it's sad. And it's sad it's been going on for years, and it's sad that it took someone to bring it out publicly for something to actually happen. You know, you would think the WWE as a company, or PR, right, whoever's in talent relations, or Vince McMahon or Triple H or Steph or anyone in power would actually have known about this before. And it's sad that it got to the point where it did, that it had to get public for them in order to actually do something about it. Very sad. Regarding the division, Gil's fan says the tag division is atrocious, yet they don't bring Jimmy back. I don't know why. I know, obviously injuries and stuff like that, but is it that they don't trust Jimmy with injuries? He's not healthy? What's going on? Who knows? Who knows? I just feel like they're probably saving him for a big event, for a big pay-per-view where, booking-wise, Roman needs him. I think that's what they do. We cut to a commercial break, and we come back, and it's another backstage segment, and we get a bunch of these squished. So we get a commercial break, then we get several backstage segments, then we get another commercial break. So we get Megan Morant. I'm guessing that's a French name, and it would be Megan Moran. So Megan Moran, or Megan Morant, is backstage, and in comes Apollo Crews. So he's cutting a promo. He says, I don't just talk to anyone. And you could tell Megan's facial expressions. You could tell it's the first time on the show, because her facial expressions went from like shock to scared to surprised to who knows what. But her facial expressions were all over the place. So Apollo's cutting a promo. Big E attacks him. He gets his 10 seconds right here. So he attacks him. WWE officials break it up, take him away. Out comes Commander Aziz, checks up on Apollo Crews. And then we cut to a video package of Aleister Black. And this was an odd one. So, obviously Aleister Black has this dark, mysterious gimmick. He's had it for, forever. And they're continuing with this. And I like that they're continuing with this as long as it's done correctly. And this doesn't turn into another Fiend. I think I mentioned this to, I think it was Andrew actually, on Twitter during the show. I said, this could be interesting as long as they don't turn into the Fiend. Because his video package tonight, or his promo, was about the dragon. He opens up a book, Chapter 1, the dragon, and he talks about how his dad used to take him to funerals as a kid and these life and death celebrations, and he was not taught on how to defeat the dragon, but rather he was taught on how to become the dragon. So, all right, it's some weird daddy issues there, but so it looked like a heelish promo, because at one point, especially near the end, he was kind of attacking the viewers and stuff like that. So who knows what they do? As long as they don't throw in some magical powers and some disappearing stuff, I think he'll be fine. They haven't totally repackaged him, not completely anyways, but they've kept him off television for a while, brought him back on SmackDown. I'm going to take a look at the chat here. So Andrew says Apollo might need to get a better bodyguard, though the Mayor McCheese Big E was able to jump Apollo. That's true, right? So he had Aziz in the locker room, and I guess Apollo Crews could still get beaten up. Gil's fan, nothing against her, but why have they hired her? Having 3 backstage interviewers on SmackDown seems like overkill. I don't know, maybe they're prepping her for something. I'm surprised they didn't introduce her on NXT or Main Event or something. WWE is keen on bringing in new talent and just throwing them to the Sharks, right? I think his name is Naveed on Raw, Kevin on Raw as well, although I love Kevin. I think he's doing a tremendous job. You have Pat McAfee, I think, who's actually doing a very good job. This was his second week on SmackDown. You could tell he was more composed, much more composed, less over the top than last week. And he's toned it down, and he's doing well. He's done well. But with her tonight, it's like, I'm not sure. Andrew says, yay, Stephen King is booking SmackDown and NXT. Dragon equals devil. Metallica says Black needed a character change. Every time he went on a high, he got injured. That being said, I didn't catch a segment. I was running through the show to be caught up for this after show. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, man. Means a lot you guys are here. Means a lot you're here. Means a lot that everyone's here watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube on playback, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and thank you. Make sure to leave a comment as well. But yeah, if you missed it, Metallica, it was essentially like a 3-minute video. He's sitting in a chair, very dark room, reading off a book, then looks at the camera. Very odd, very mysterious, very Aleister Blackish. Very Aleister Blackish. Let's put it that way. Gills fan says perhaps Commander Aziz fails every week, so he gets demoted a rank every show. That'd be pretty humorous. That'd be pretty funny. Andrew says Dark Father, also the devil. Gills fan, I didn't think Black would be back after the Selena thing. Yeah, the Selena Vega, she went all out, like batshit crazy against the company when she got released, when she quit, whatever you want to call it, when she left the company, she really went all out. But you know what? Good on Aleister Black. Good on Aleister Black. If they're able to keep him and actually do something with him, could be a fantastic addition to either Raw or SmackDown. In this case, it would be SmackDown. And Gills fan, NXT only has one interviewer, so just send her there. There you go. That's an idea. Metallica says, I like the rank comment from Gills fan. I would like to see Cruz have more men with them, all with different ranks. Probably overkill though. You know what? I don't think that's overkill. That would be actually pretty clever. That'd be pretty clever. I would like to see that, where every week you get like a different commanding officer, someone different in command, different in the ranks. That could be fun if every week you get someone, right? Could be fun, could be cool. Who knows what they do? But for the time being, you know what? They're doing a very good job with Apollo Crews. Cannot complain. Gills fan says, at least Black's eye has healed. I think he got injured with that. Yeah, and he was wearing the glasses as well. And look, it was odd. It was Aleister Blackish. It was the first promo. We'll see what gives. So essentially, it's this here. So Aleister Black is back. This is the GIF, GIF or GIF, whatever you guys want to call it. It's this here. So this was Aleister Black for everyone. So Metallica, you missed it. For everyone else that missed it, there you go. That was that. So this is what I tweeted. I said, if done right, Aleister Black can be a great addition to SmackDown. They've done well for the most part with people on the show, right? With the people on here. So Apollo Crews, for one. Interested in what they end up doing with him. Again, he's a dark character. I don't know how much Fox is into these darker characters. I truly don't. Maybe that's why they sent The Fiend over to Raw. But I feel like they cannot go over the top dark or over the top goofy dark, over the top goofy, period, with Aleister Black because of Fox. I don't think they could. I think it's going to be very limited in how far they can push this character in terms of the darker angles, so to speak. Continuing on, then we got another backstage segment. So this was Kayla for, I want to say not even the hat trick, for the quadruple, in football and soccer they call it the poker, which is 4 times. So we get Kayla for the 4th time backstage with the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. She congratulates them on their victory last week. She says, tonight is Mysterio's against the Alpha Academy. What do you think? What are your predictions? Ziggler says, Ray is one of the best of all time, but his son Dominic has some big Gucci shoes to fill, and he says, I'll let bygones be bygones, but I think the Alpha Academy wins. So in terms of the Alpha Academy, bygones be bygones, obviously his feud with Otis, right? So at least there's some historical continuity going on there, right? At least. And then we're going to go back to the chat here. Metallica, did we talk about who he feuds with? Mid-card, he's pretty much faced all of them. That's a good question, Metallica. So regarding Aleister Black, before we continue with this tag team division, I don't know who you could feud Aleister Black with. If you're going to stick him in the Intercontinental title division, I don't know. It could be very interesting what they do with him. Definitely not the Universal title. Obviously not. Gills fan says Black could beat Nakamura since he's doing nothing. Andrew might have been okay back in the sci-fi days, but not sure how well dark characters will work out. Gills fan, Kayla running the show better than Adam Pearce. Absolutely, absolutely. Apparently Seth and Otis are cool now. Yeah. And Dolph finally mentioned the Otis feud. He did, Gills fan. He absolutely did. Finally, someone mentioned it. We got a mention of that feud from just over a year ago, or about a year ago now, WrestleMania last year. So that's a very good thing. We'll talk about this maybe towards the end of the show. Aleister Black, who do you put him with? Who do you feud him with? Right? I think he debuts after WrestleMania Backlash, though. I really think. I don't think they'll bring him back for this pay-per-view. I think everything resets at Backlash. All the storylines end, everything restarts, and boom, we get a fresh start after that. And I think that's when we get Aleister Black. So going back to Ziggler and Rude, they're cutting the promo. In come the Street Profits, Dawkins and Ford, and they said, "Look, when we were champions, you guys got multiple title opportunities against us. We want the same. We want a tag title match against you guys." And this whole argument occurs, and then boom, in comes Bayley. Surprising. She says, "Oh, I'm gonna cut this tension with a knife and this and that." And then they leave, and then she's there with Kayla, and she tells her, "Ding dong, hello Kayla. I'm the role model. I'm the longest reigning women's SmackDown champion, and I'm gonna beat Bianca Belair at WrestleMania Backlash." Bayley says she took Bianca's hand and graciously gave her the chance to work with her when she joined the main roster. Bianca never thanked her. She calls Bianca rude, selfish, and spoiled. And at WrestleMania Backlash, she's going to take her title back. And then in comes Ford. So Ford, with the cell phone open, and you actually see him on a call with Bianca on speaker. And he's talking to Bianca, and he says, "Oh, Bayley's talking about you." And Bianca says, "Who?" "Oh, Bayley, ha ha," and she laughs. And then Bianca tells Ford, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go to her face and I'll see what she has to say face to face." So that was cool. That was a little, interesting, I guess. Andrew says, "Bayley out of nowhere." Yes, like the RKO out of nowhere, we get Bayley out of nowhere. Gills fan, Bayley stealing the show as usual. You know what? I think I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I was not Bayley's biggest fan towards the end of her feud. Towards the end of her title reign. I really wasn't. I felt it was just overkill. I felt like they kept dragging that feud on forever between her and Sasha Banks. But this whole refresh, this whole reboot with her, I love. The whole ding-dong, stuff like that. I loved her at WrestleMania. I'm loving her on SmackDown. And look, chances are she's not going to win the belt at Backlash, and I'm cool with that. But as long as they continue with this character and continue developing it, I'm all for it. I'm a Bayley fan. Count me in. Count me in. Gills fan says, "More Bayley versus Bianca is fine with me." Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought the feud that they had together, I thought it was very fun. I thought it was enjoyable. The basketball, the obstacle course and stuff like that. It was fun. And this reboot could be exactly what Bayley needed. So we'll see how that one plays along. Cut to a commercial break, and then yet another segment. Another backstage segment. And it's actually Bianca, Bayley, and Kayla. So they're backstage, and Bianca tells Bayley, "Well, here you go. What are you going to say?" And Bayley full on compliments Bianca. "Oh, it's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a pleasure. I'm going to be your first opponent." And like, wow, okay, where is this coming from? And then Bayley leaves, and Bianca looks at Kayla, and she's like, "Oh, this is not what I was expecting." And then Bayley comes back and just laughs. She just laughs in Bianca's face and walks away. So obviously, that was a lie, and she was joking. So that was done well. That was done well. Another thing done well on this show tonight. And they've been doing a lot of it recently. So kudos to them. Kudos to the writing. Andrew says, "Remember we said something about Bianca not having a lot of people to feud with over the title? Yep, we were right. Nothing against Bayley because I like the gimmick." So I agree. I think the not only is the SmackDown women's division, but I think the women's division in general, be it Raw or SmackDown, is very thin, very, very thin. Becky Lynch probably, who knows when she's coming back. Ronda Rousey's not coming back. She's pregnant. She's expected to give birth in September, so she obviously won't be back anytime before then, probably even after that, at least not till the Rumble. So that leaves us with Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Charlotte, Bianca, Sasha, and Bayley. So you're left with 6. Lacey Evans is obviously pregnant. Charlotte is suspended. So essentially you're down to 5. Sasha nowhere to be seen tonight. So it's very thin. And I get it. I fully understand what you mean, Andrew. Fully understand, buddy. Nothing against Bayley, but it's just like, sometimes you're very limited in what you could do with the women's division. I totally understand. Gilsman says, Bayley and Sami Zayn bring the fun to SmackDown. And you guys bring the fun to the SmackDown Post Show. So thank you for that. Gil's fan says, Doug's soundboard would blow up if he was reviewing the show because of the constant Kayla. Yeah, no, we're not doing the soundboards. We don't do that stuff. No alcohol here. Nothing against Doug. Nothing against Doug or his show. Nothing like that. But no. Kayla. I like Kayla. I like her. She's growing on me. She's absolutely growing on me. So then we actually get a match. We finally get a match after about 5 backstage segments in a row. We finally get a match. It's Rey and Dominic Mysterio against the Alpha Academy. So this one only goes 1 commercial break, which is, expected. I wasn't expecting 2 commercial breaks. And I remember while watching, I looked at the time and it was about 8:45. And I said, wow, there's still 15 minutes left of the show. And this is essentially the main event. So this was the main event of SmackDown. We started the show with a tag match and we're ending it with a tag match. So Rey Dominic against the Alpha Academy. Otis has been pushed to be built like a monster, absolutely squashing everyone he's in the ring with. And nothing wrong with that. Dominic, look, I know we've spoken about this before, about Dominic. I'm a fan of his. I think, generally speaking, I don't think anyone has a problem with Dominic. I still think he should be sent over to NXT just to develop a little bit more, because the way things have been going lately, he's been in a tag team with Rey, and it's not that it's not working, but you don't see the development. You really don't see the development. And being stuck in a tag team, and I say stuck, not that it's a bad thing, but when you're in a tag team, you're kind of limited in terms of how high individually you could go. Obviously, he's learning from one of the best to ever do it, Rey Mysterio, and it's his father, it's his dad. Fully understand that. But the character itself is very bland. There's no character to Dominic Mysterio. If you tell me Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio's son. Other than that, I can't tell you anything. There's no character there. And that's not a knock on him. That's not his fault. That's creative, right? Because they've stuck him in these horrible storylines with his sister Aaliyah and Murphy and Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio losing an eye, and it's been terrible. And then I think Baron Corbin at one point. So the things they've given him to do, or the storylines, have not necessarily been the best. And that's not a knock on him. Again, it's not his fault. But maybe split him up, send him to NXT, change things up. I think he could do very well there. And I truly think so, because there's a lot of guys you could learn from. A lot of guys. And send him there for a while. I'm going to take a look at the chat. I know I've been rambling on for a couple of minutes, so I'm going to take a look at the comments in the chat. Andrew, so going back to the women's division, Andrew says, I doubt we see Ronda till, like I said, till the Rumble, especially not till we have crowds consistently. Yes, I agree. I don't think it's similar to Brock Lesnar. I don't think we're ever going to have Brock Lesnar back, period, to be honest with you. But it's similar to Brock in the sense of, if you're going to bring Ronda or Lesnar back, I don't think they do it without a crowd. I think they do it with an audience, with a crowd. So I do agree. Gilsman says, the Mysterios versus not Heavy Machinery. I'll say this about Otis and Gable. They're dressing like a tag team. They're trying to look like a tag team. I'll give them that. They're slowly growing as a tag team. If they could turn Otis into this dominant monster, it could work. For the time being, it's a work in progress. Metallica says, Dominic sigh. Yeah. Yeah, again, I like Dominic, man. I like him. It's not against him, but Jesus Christ, no. Um, Andrew says it's hot and cold on both teams each week. Absolutely. Absolutely, Andrew. Fully agree. Metallica says, listen, the father-son combo ran its course and it's now hit the wall. 205 Live could be a good brand to head to, especially if he's going to follow his dad's footsteps. So that could be interesting. That could be interesting, actually. Sending Dominic over to 205 Live. He could learn. He'll be on his own for sure. I don't know if that's the direction. I feel like he's, and this is not a knock against anyone in 205 Live at all, but I feel like he could do better because I feel like I'm not going to say he's destined for greatness and this and that, no. But I could definitely see down the line in a couple of years, why not have Dominic Mysterio as a legitimate contender for, let's say, the Intercontinental belt or the United States belt or something. And he's not going to grow, he's not going to get that character, he's not going to get that exposure on 205 Live. Because I don't think many people watch 205 Live, to be honest. Like, I think more people watch NXT. I haven't taken a look at the ratings, but or to the ratings to compare the two, I mean. But I feel like more people watch NXT than 205 Live. You could be right. You could be right. Maybe him on 205 Live could do him a world of good. Could be. Could be. Me, personally, I would like to see him on NXT. But hey, just me. Andrew says that shadow hangs pretty large over his head. And that's the problem. As long as he's tag teaming with Ray, that shadow is going to be there. And it's tough, man. I don't care how talented you are. I really don't care. Having Ray's shadow constantly there and constantly being called father-son duo, it weighs heavy on you. It weighs heavy on you. Metallica, what happened to Otis' singles push? Oh yeah, that forget it. They had him feud with The Miz, lost the Money in the Bank, and that was it. That was literally it. One money in the Bank, like you said, his partner got hurt, got a shot, randomly got put with not Shorty Gable. Gable was also pushed as a singles competitor. Yeah, they tried pushing Gables as singles, didn't work. They tried pushing Otis as singles, didn't work. Then they thought, hey, let's put him as a tag team. Look, these two guys are not made for singles pushes or singles competitors, right? In terms of Otis and Gable, they're better off as tag teams. I'm just not sure if they're better off as tag teams together. That's my problem. Otis and Heavy Machinery was great. Chad Gable, if you bring back, what is it, like the what was it called? I'm fully drawing a blank here. But when you had Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, and Kurt Angle, that tag team, I feel like Chad Gable could do very well in that sort of tag team, right? I don't see Chad Gable as a leader. Like, I get it, the amateur wrestling background, and he's a trainer, he's the coach, he's coaching Otis. I get all that. I just don't buy into it. Because of what they've done with Gable in the past, I don't buy into it. Or I haven't, at least yet. Andrew, you can kind of tell they want the Street Profits against Dolph and Rude, though. That's the issue, and it feels like we're going to get it eventually. Probably at the pay-per-view. Andrew says 205 Live, I think, is on Peacock, so it's probably on the network then. Okay, it's probably on the network. Metallica says, you're right, though. NXT has a cruiserweight division, arguably better than 205 Live. I think anything's arguably better than 205 Live. The world's greatest tag team. That's it, Metallica. Yes, thank you. The world's greatest tag team. Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, and then you had Kurt Angle in there. They were fun. You know what? Looking back and just these little things that we're talking about, SmackDown for the past 15 years has, by and large, been the much better brand, if you really think of it. Looking back, storyline-wise, aside from Katie Vick, that was something else, but aside from Katie Vick, but storylines-wise, matches, wrestlers, SmackDown's just been significantly better than Raw for the past 15 years, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Gil's fan, I thought Gable should have been put with Bryan, where he was being coached by Drew Gulak. See, that could have been interesting. That could have been fun, but if they were planning on pushing Daniel Bryan to the main event, then you can't have Gable with him. So, in theory, if they were going to keep Daniel Bryan there in that mid-cardish level or tag team level, absolutely could have worked. Absolutely agree with you. But if you're going to push Daniel Bryan the way they've been pushing him, maybe not. I don't think it would have worked. I don't think it would have worked. All right, so continuing on. So that was the match. So we ultimately get Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio getting the win. So Otis knocked off the ring apron. They double team Chad Gable. Rey hits him with the 619 and the frog splash. He goes for the cover, gets the win, gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. Rey and Dominic Mysterio get the win. This is 2 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken, for Rey and Dominic. Let's see if it actually leads to something, or are we just going to get another one of these tag team matches next week between them and Gable and Otis. Who knows? Who knows? Taking a look at the chat, Andrew says, before the pandemic, I stayed for 205 Live. It was okay, but man, the crowds just walk out on it, mainly because I thought we were getting a dark match. So, yeah, I remember when I used to go to the shows. Oh, I say I remember when. This was right before the pandemic as well. But I would go, and for us, we used to get like main event right before Raw, and we used to get 205 after SmackDown. And I think the crowd kind of just doesn't necessarily care about 205 Live. If I'm being honest, I just feel like they don't necessarily care for the show. I don't know why. You get some good matches every now and then, but it just hasn't worked for them. Hasn't worked for them. So here are my thoughts, the ones I put up on Twitter. So another tag team match involving the Mysterios and the Alpha Academy. Another win for the Mysterios, and I have to say, I didn't hate this. So I'll be honest, I did not hate this match for what it was. As a match itself, I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. Everyone worked hard. The only thing is, and this is something we literally just said, I think I've seen enough of these two teams going up against each other. That's my issue. The match itself, didn't hate it. Do I want to see it again? Not really, because we've got it a bunch of times the past month and a half. We've gotten these guys a bunch of times, so I don't need to see it again. I truly don't. We cut to a commercial break, and then it's the last segment of the show. So you get Cesaro and Daniel Bryan are in the ring, and Cesaro calls Roman out. And his delivery in this short promo segment before Roman Reigns came out, Cesaro's delivery was so bad. And it hurts to say because I'm a Cesaro fan. I love the guy, and I'm very glad they're pushing him. But Cesaro on the mic tonight just showed why he has Daniel Bryan with him right now, and just shows why he absolutely needs a mouthpiece. He needs a manager. He needs someone speaking for him. Because it's not like Brock Lesnar. Because if you go back, and if you watch Brock Lesnar back in the mid-2000s, but let's say 2003, 2004, 2005, specifically when he was feuding with Eddie Guerrero, I mean, Lesnar was fun. Lesnar was funny on the mic. Lesnar actually could speak when he wanted to. He wasn't dry on the mic. He wasn't bad on the mic. Honestly speaking, is it good that they put Heyman with it? Absolutely, 100%. 100%. But Lesnar could hold his own on the microphone. Cesaro cannot. Cesaro cannot. And they got to figure that out, because Bryan's not going to stay with Cesaro forever. Absolutely not. So they got to figure that part out for him. We'll see what gives. We'll see what gives. So I'm going to take a look at the chat right now. Metallica says, how about Rey turning on his son? He's never been a heel in the WWE. 18 years. That could definitely elevate Dominic. Can't find better immediate chemistry than with his father. If this was, let's say, and this is going to sound bad. But I think you guys are going to understand what I mean by this. If this was done, and I know impossible, but if you were to turn Rey Mysterio heel, the only believable way would have been prior to Eddie Guerrero's death. I know this sounds very bad, but when Eddie Guerrero died, when he passed away, they really pushed Rey. I mean, they were already pushing him, but they pushed him even further. Royal Rumble winner, winning the title, all because of Eddie Guerrero, right? Like, I dedicate this to Eddie and the Eddie armband, and That's it. Like, you couldn't hate on Mysterio anymore. There's no way. And it's been, what, 15 years later now already, which is absolutely insane. Following Eddie's death, it's still there, and they still mention Eddie Guerrero every now and then with Mysterio. So I think they're way past the point where they could turn Mysterio heel. I just think it would not work, unfortunately. Maybe if Dominic was with someone else and that other person turned heel on Dominic, that could work depending on who it is. But with Rey, I feel like you're too deep with Rey being a babyface. Granted, if they were to do it, absolutely, I think everyone would be behind Dominic, 1,000%. So that it could work. In theory, I guess it could work, but I just feel like it wouldn't be believable. You know, father turning on son, I don't think is believable. Son turning on father, I could see happening if you want to turn Dominic heel, but I don't think that's the best idea. I truly don't think that's the best idea. I'm going to take a look once more. So Andrew says they don't care for 205 Live. They come back with the shows. Just keep 205 in Orlando. It's not good for the arenas. Absolutely. Hard not to see the same teams all the time with the tag division being weak, like the women's division, sorry. Again, it's something we mentioned last week and the week before. Combine the tag title divisions. Combine the women's divisions. It's the only way. Both divisions are paper thin. Gil's fan, why wasn't Kayla in the main event? She could have been the guest ring announcer. Andrew Cesaro needs a mouthpiece bad. Yes, he does. Gil's fan, I never understood why 205 wasn't held in the NXT arena. That's true. That is very true. They could easily hold that in NXT. Just do it there. That's odd. That's very odd. Andrew, I think Brock just doesn't like talking though. Brock doesn't even like showing up. Brock shows up for the money. I love Brock, by the way. I absolutely love the guy. But yeah, no, he doesn't like to talk. Andrew says, honestly, I could only see Dominic turning on Rey, but honestly, just ship him to NXT. Yeah. I don't see. I get what Metallica means in terms of if you really want to push Dominic and make him a babyface, get Rey to turn on him. I just don't think it would work. The opposite might, but send him over to NXT. Gil's fan says, yet Rey was still booed when he won the title, I think. Was he? I don't know. I mean, again, this was 15 years ago, but I thought he was pretty cheered. I think Rey Mysterio was pretty cheered when he won the title. I might have to go back and watch it, though. Absolutely might have to watch that one again. Gil's fan, the only way he turns on his son is if his daughter is around and he sides with her. Please, God, no. No. Nothing against Aaliyah, but please don't bring her back on the show. We don't need this. Keep everything as is. We don't need that. We don't need that, guys. No. So, the main event. So we established that Cesaro needs a mouthpiece. Roman's music hits. Out he comes with Heyman and Jey Uso. They all get in the ring. Roman gets in Cesaro's face. He says, "You want to challenge me? Who are you?" He literally asks Cesaro, "Who do you think you are? Who are you? You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. I'm the tribal chief. I'm the head of the table. I get to pick who the challenger is." And then he looks at Daniel Bryan and he says, "You're the challenger." And this I found odd. I found this very, I won't say out of character, but at the time, I really did not think this made sense, because I'm like, well, Roman's had enough of Edge. Roman's had enough of Bryan. Why is he offering Daniel Bryan a title match? And a title match next week? Like, this doesn't make any sense. In my head, I'm like, this is potentially the first flaw in the Roman Reigns character since he came back at SummerSlam, right? This is potentially the first flaw. But then we got the stipulation, and then it all made sense. Because Roman tells him, look, next week, me versus you for the title. When you lose, you disappear, you're no longer on my show. And Daniel Bryan agreed, or accepted. And that's when it made sense to me. Because had there not been that stipulation, it would not have made any sense at all to have this match. But it's the fact that, hey, Roman hates Daniel Bryan so much he wants to get rid of him. Well, here it is. It's do or die. It's either you win the belt or you're off. You're absolutely off. And this is very, very interesting. Okay, now there are a couple of ways they could play this. There are definitely a couple of ways they could play this. And before I get into it, I'm going to take a look at the chat. So Andrew says they dropped her big time in terms of Aaliyah. Andrew says, I think most people who booed him were tired of the Eddie stuff. All right. Metallica says he has a question. So besides the whole USA and Fox thing, with WWE holding out residency, don't you think, since there's no travel, it would have been good to merge the brands and have stronger feuds? That's an excellent question. That's a very good question. Something I've actually thought about before. We never really discussed it. But if there was ever a time to do it, you're right, this probably would have been it. And I don't just mean, and I think that's what you mean as well, not just, the tag divisions or women division, but the brands in general, Raw, SmackDown, combining them right now with the pandemic, with the Thunderdome, with no traveling, maybe is not a bad idea. Honestly speaking, it creates, well, number one, it's going to help Raw for 3 hours. It's going to help fill up the time slot for 3 hours. And number two, you could get, you would be merging the tag team division, you'd be merging the women's divisions. So that could be that's not a bad idea, honestly. Really not. Unfortunately, because they didn't do it back then, I don't think they're going to do it now, especially when, they're talking about, we might get fans back, maybe, eventually, soon, by the fall or something. But I definitely think it could have worked. We would have gotten stronger feuds. Absolutely. Very good idea, Metallica. Very good question and very, very good idea. So Gills fan says he disagrees. The last time we had that, SmackDown was just a Raw recap show. So I get that, Gills fan. I absolutely get that. And I get why you disagree. But I feel like in this case, if they were not to do that, if they were to actually not have SmackDown obviously be the B show and just be like, here's what happened on Raw. If they don't have that, if they actually do SmackDown properly the way they're doing now, I think both brands could definitely benefit. I think Raw would be the bigger winner. I think Raw would benefit enormously out of it, much more than SmackDown. And overall, I think would just be good. But I don't trust creative. I don't trust WWE enough for them to actually do a good job on this. So maybe it's best that they are keeping them separate. But I do agree with Metallica in the sense of, if they were to do it, now would have been the time. Now would have absolutely been the time. And Metallica replies, he says, I think that's because on I think that's because on SmackDown tapings or live shows and Raw superstars were doing house shows. That could be. It could be that, yeah. When SmackDown was being taped or whatnot, the Raw guys were traveling, they were doing house shows, so they would do a lot of the recap on that. Could be. Andrew says, under these conditions, it might have worked better. I mean, I guess now we'll never know, because I don't see them doing it, right? But would have been interesting. Would have been very, very interesting. I really agree. I really agree. So, very good question. Love the chat. Active as always. I love you guys. Let's go home. Let's take a look at the main event. The different theories, right? So, we get the stipulation, and here are the different ways I think they do it. And I'm going to go to the chat, and I'll give my opinion. Andrew says, I guess for Daniel to move backstage. So this is one theory. So they could go three ways, obviously. They could either have Daniel Bryan win and get the belt, which I don't think they're going to do. They could have Daniel Bryan win by disqualification. Let's say Edge interferes, which is a possibility. So Bryan stays on SmackDown. He defeats Roman Reigns, but stays on SmackDown, doesn't get the belt. Or Reigns beats him, and like Andrew says, Bryan is fully committed to the creative team to writing backstage for SmackDown. What I don't see is them shipping him over to Raw. I truly hope they don't ship him off to Raw. Not because I don't like him there, but because I feel like they would just completely misuse him and completely screw him up on Raw. So I think it's going to boil down to either Edge comes back, interferes, and we get it, or not. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think they're gonna do with that? I'm torn. I'm torn between Bryan fully losing and he's gone, and joins the creative, or Edge comes back, costs let's say Bryan the match. Bryan wins by DQ, or costs him the belt, wins by DQ, and that way he stays on the show. I don't know. That's a tough one. I really don't know. Let's take a look. So Gillsfan says, I can see Edge costing Bryan so he gets time off. Then they can do Cesaro versus Edge. That would be very interesting. Cesaro versus Edge would be very fun, but it leaves Roman Reigns no one to feud with. No one to feud with. Then what do you do with Cesaro and Seth Rollins? So I don't think that's going to work out. I don't think they have Cesaro feuding with Edge, at least not right away. Because you have Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan or Cesaro versus Roman Reigns, right? One or the other. And Metallica says, is Edge a face or a heel? I guess he's a tweener. No one really knows. No one really knows Metallica. This is something we've discussed several times on this show already. No one knows. No one has a clue what Edge is. And then Gil's fan says, since it's WWE, I'm worried they will do the stupid thing and have Cesaro cost Bryan. I don't think they turn Cesaro heel. I don't think so. It would make no sense. Absolutely no sense to do that. Or at least I hope not. At least I hope not. Gil's fan, there are a lot of options. You could have Jay, Jimmy, Edge, or God forbid Cesaro costing Bryan. It's a possibility. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Andrew says we could have, if Edge costing the match, we could get Daniel Bryan versus Edge at WrestleMania rehash. So that is interesting. Daniel Bryan versus Edge at WrestleMania Backlash. But then that leaves, what do you do with Cesaro? Do you have him feud with Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins? Because if you have Cesaro with Seth, then you have nothing for Roman. I don't know. There are several options. I agree. There are several options. Metallica says he was that borderline crazy-minded face around Mania time. The fans didn't know how to react to him. And that's a very good point, Metallica. That's a very, very good point because it's something we spoke about on the WrestleMania Post Show. I know we spoke about it on night one, where this is the first time they had a crowd in a year. They didn't know. Like, people were cheering Bobby Lashley, and Vince and the rest probably thought they were gonna boo Bobby Lashley, but they were cheering him. There were a couple of people cheering him, and they didn't know how to react to Edge. Yeah, we like Edge because he's back, but he's doing heelish stuff, so there were mixed reactions. I agree, man. I agree. The fans did not know how to react at all, Gil's fan says, and replying to Metallica, he says Edge has been acting like a heel, but they have the Thunderdome cheer him, so I guess he's a tweener. That's it. Yeah, I would think he's a tweener. So that's that. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. I don't know what they do. I don't think we get a clean finish. I think we get some sort of disqualification or something. I don't see Daniel Bryan winning the belt next week on SmackDown. I don't see it. It would be a shocker. It would be a hell of a shocker. I don't see it. I just don't know if Roman gets a clean pin or a pin and that's it. Daniel Bryan stays backstage, or Bryan gets screwed. My only fear, or one of my fears, if Bryan loses and he's off SmackDown, then you need to find someone for Cesaro right away. You need to find someone to be that mouthpiece for Cesaro, because if you're going to have Cesaro feud, be it with Seth or Roman Reigns heading into WrestleMania Backlash, and WrestleMania Backlash is in about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, that's going to be a long 3 weeks. And Cesaro, look, I like the guy again, but there's no way he's going to improve drastically to the point where he's going to be tolerable on the mic. So that's another thing I think we have to take into consideration as well, because if Bryan's gone, so is Cesaro's mouthpiece. Gil's fan, Edge got the biggest pop of the night along with Owens, it seemed, on night 2. Metallica says Lashley got cheered because Drew's already taken as a fake by the fans. He got pushed down our throats too quick. What was he pushed down? I don't know. I get in the sense of, yeah, maybe he was pushed down, but we didn't really get much of... They didn't really have much of a choice aside from Drew. They were really pushing Drew before the pandemic with his feud with Lesnar, and who else were you going to get? Seth Rollins was doing that crazy shit. Bobby Lashley tried to feud. You had Orton with Edge and then Orton alone at one point. So we did get a lot of Drew McIntyre. That is true. That is true. Eric Travis. Eric, welcome to the chat. He says, hey Roy, how do you feel about Aleister Black repackaged? Metallica says, Eric, rewind 30 minutes. It's pretty much, what, why, okay. Kind of like that, kind of. Look, the thing with Aleister Black is he could be an interesting character. He was cool at the start of Raw when they, when he jumped from NXT to Raw. It was fun, then they messed him up. This time around, I don't know how much of a repackage it is, because he's still very much that dark character. I don't know if he's gonna have a different look. I don't know if he's gonna wear tights instead of the speedos instead of the I don't know what he's gonna wear. Is he gonna be a fully repackaged, or is it just Aleister Black version 1.5 or 2.0, like Mattitude 2.0? I don't know what they're gonna do. This is the first promo. Hopefully next week we get another promo that sheds some light into that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll say this: if done correctly, Aleister Black could be solid in the mid-card for the Intercontinental title. Absolutely solid. If done poorly, this could be an absolute train wreck. Absolute train wreck. Because it's a dark character, I feel like they might be a little bit limited on Fox in terms of what they can do. Andrew says, Aleister Black is another Karrion Kross. I am not a fan of Karrion Kross at all. I covered NXT Night 2 about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago now. Wasn't a fan of his in the ring, wasn't a fan of the character. Hopefully Aleister Black is not the same thing. Eric says, I agree. So he agrees with me in terms of Cesaro needs a manager. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Metallica says, regarding Drew McIntyre, he says, by push down our throats, I mean, he cleaned Lesnar too quick. Lesnar was already going through the competition with 3 moves. When you kick out of 10 F5s, people go, okay, we're not stupid, boo. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I feel like if there was a crowd, instead of it just being at the Performance Center with literally no one in attendance, I think if WrestleMania last year was held with the crowd and Drew and Lesnar had the match that they had, I think would have gotten a completely different reaction. Maybe. But I truly feel that way. At least by most people would have gotten a different reaction. Would it be everyone that would have been on board? No, right? But I think for the most part it's different. It's different when you have 40, 50, 60,000 people or 80,000 people in attendance watching that and adding to the match, as opposed to 0 in attendance. But I agree, yes, absolutely. At the start, he was going through the competition, like Drew was going through the competition, and you're like, okay, well, with no crowd, you don't get that reaction, you don't get the atmosphere, you're missing a lot. I get your point of view, absolutely. Absolutely. Metallica says, Mattitude 2.0 mentioned, this is definitely a blast from the past. Was this post show from 2003? I love it. Oh my god. Dude, you have no idea. So for those probably missed the beginning of the show, so Metallica and I are actually, we're friends, good friends. Over 20 years. Went to the same school together, same high school together. Very good friends. So always been that wrestling buddy at school, where we used to always talk about wrestling. Andrew says, Vince loves his devil dark guys, apparently. Yeah, I mean, ever since The Undertaker worked, it feels like he probably thought every dark character is going to work. Metallica, I think that would be a great add-on to Sammy's character. Have that Mattitude graphic, but instead of Hardy's facts, it's daily conspiracies for Zayn. That would be cool. That would be so fun. Like Sami Zayn walking down to the ring, and the latest conspiracy theory against Sami Zayn. That'd be fun. So, for example, today at the airport, there were no toilet seat covers. I had to use my ring gear. That would have been fun. That's a good idea, Metallica. That's a good one. Absolutely like that. That's cool. All right. Let's end this, baby. Let's do this. So, announced for next week, aside from the Universal Championship, we're also getting Big E against Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title belt. So we're getting 2 big matches next week. As for the show, a very enjoyable show with 2 championship matches announced for next week. This was light years ahead of anything on Raw, both in terms of storylines or matches. It's a fun show, and next week has the potential to be even better. Absolutely. Last week was a little bit of a kind of iffy last week's show. This week's show I think was much, much better than last week's. And next week with 2 championship matches on SmackDown, I think they're going to deliver. I just hope we don't get a disqualification thing where Edge comes out for the main event. Nothing to do with Edge. I'm not hating on Edge. It's too predictable. That's the only reason why. It's very, very predictable. Let's take a look at the votes. I had voted thumbs up. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. What do you guys think of the show? There you go. 87.3% gave this show a thumbs up. 12.7% gave the show a thumbs down. I'll be honest, guys. I don't know how you could give the show a thumbs down. I really, really don't think so. We did get one person here who said if they could fix the women's matches, it would be an amazing SmackDown episode. I don't know why they didn't do that, though. Yeah, that's... Jeremy, that's something we've been talking about for a while now. For a while. Gil's fan says, good idea about Sammy's conspiracies. It was a nice touch that he was given an uncomfortable chair for commentary. Yeah. That was another thing, right? And Pat McAfee said it as well. He mentioned it. After Sammy mentioned it, Pat said, oh yeah, if I could, I'd give you a better chair. And Cruz should promote his commander to referee just as the match starts. That would be fun. That'd be interesting. So let me know, what do you guys think of the show? I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed this show. I enjoyed it last week. I enjoyed this week's show much more. I thought it was just more fun, made more sense. I don't really like to say this, but we really are on our way to WrestleMania Backlash, and it feels stupid. I feel stupid every time I write WrestleMania Backlash instead of just Backlash. But we're on our way to WrestleMania Backlash. Andrew, good show. The show is always good. Yes. By the way, Roy, the 901 Football Club USL Champions League starts May 15th. Does it? Oof, forgot about that. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to take a look at that either tonight or tomorrow. Get a bit more information on the USL Champions League, which starts in May. Thank you for that, Andrew. So what do you guys think of the show? I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, like I said. Definitely a thumbs up for me. I voted thumbs up. Let me know if you guys are in the chat. Let me know what you guys thought. If you guys are watching us on playback on YouTube, let me know. Leave a comment. What do you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs down, good, bad, what is it? What's going on? Gil's fan says thumbs up for SmackDown and the post show. Thank you, Gil's fan. Thumbs up to you guys as well. Andrew says WrestleMania rehash. Metallica says I can't wait for WrestleMania SummerSlam. Oh God. Well, in June. It's what? It's Money in the Bank. It's gonna be WrestleMania's Money in the Bank. It's gonna, yeah. No, hopefully not. Gil's fan says I'm just calling it Backlash. Yeah, you know what? Moving forward, as of next week, as of right now, we're just gonna call it Backlash. No more WrestleMania Backlash. It's just Backlash. It worked. Like the name says it. It's a backlash. A backlash of what? Of WrestleMania. We don't need WrestleMania in there in the title. We know it's a backlash. We know it's the fallout from something. We know it's this. Anyways, it's WWE being WWE. So that's gonna be it for tonight or today or this afternoon, whenever you guys are watching us. If you guys are watching us on playback, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for everyone gave us a thumbs up. Thank you guys for joining me. It's always fun. Andrew says so. We're getting the comments now. It's WrestleMania Survivor Series and WrestleMania 205 Live. Yeah. Anyways, so my name is Roy Nemer. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm your Wrestleview.com SmackDown recapper. We're here a couple of times a week. Make sure to join us on Monday for the Raw Post Show with Mike and Victoria Tedesco. Hopefully they have a good Raw to review and and not a bad one. I truly feel sorry for those guys. Raw has not been too good lately for them, or for anyone really. So they're there on Mondays immediately following Raw. They're on YouTube. They're right here on the YouTube channel. Metallica says, I'm off to watch Mortal Kombat. I have to watch that. I'm probably going to watch that tomorrow. Hoping that Aleister Black is not in the movie. Have a good night, old friend. Catch you on the outside. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Metallica, man. Have a good night, you too. Thank you for joining us. Gills fans, WrestleMania Talking Smack. This is the WrestleMania Wrestleview SmackDown Post Show. There you go. All right, guys. Last time promise. My name is Roy Nemer. Thank you for joining me. See you. Well, there you go, Gills fans. See you next week, everybody. Thank you for joining us and enjoy. Till then, till next time. Be safe. Take care, and try and enjoy the product. Try not to take this stuff too seriously, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.